What's going on, Prestige family? It's K Meezy. I apologize for the delay going into Week 11 rankings. I give you a million excuses as to why I'm a few weeks late, to say the least, but we're not going to go there. So I just want to let you know that I am going to do one take, teams 12 through 7, and I'll have a part 2 with a team 6 through 1 following that. What we're going to do is pretty much just shoot a video. I'm going to talk about the teams that I see and why I've ranked the teams where I've ranked them. First of all, I'd like to explain where my rankings come from. First and foremost, rankings do have something to do with it. But of course, a lot of it depends on the roster that I'm looking at, my personal belief in each player that they have on that roster, as well as the points that you've put up throughout the season. Sometimes that accumulates to your record, sometimes there's other things that fall into that principle. But we're going to go ahead and just begin with what we got. It's definitely my first video. It's a little awkward, but we're just going to go with it and just bear with me, if you know what I'm saying. Just going to kind of run through it, try and do something that Dave would do. I wanted to give him a little ease, give him some time, with his family, play his video games and whatnot, get to work. And unfortunately, I've just been swamped myself, so kept delaying it, and well, here we are. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the rankings. I'm going to start with Team 12. Of course, as we all know, last place, or as a lot of fantasy managers like to call it, the doormat. Team 12 is going to be Pump Fake. There's no flex. I'm just going to call it Pump Fake because it's all he pretty much does. Definitely thought we had a deal in line for Jordan Howard, but as everybody can see, Howard is still on his roster. I guess I shouldn't be too upset because for a player that I personally am highly interested in and I think has a lot of value going forward, he certainly has not shown that he can carry a team, at least a team that likes to throw the rock. When they rely on the run a little bit more, I think he does a better job, but unfortunately he doesn't have that option going forward. Chicago's definitely opened it up on that offensive side, and Khalil Mack gives them more opportunities to get the rock. They still choose not to run it. So, kind of is what it is when it comes to that point. To the left of me, I do have the rosters. I got it set up on a little iPad, so if you see me looking left, that's what I'm looking at. And when I kind of scroll through Brandon's roster, I don't see a running back 1. I don't see a wide receiver 1. I don't see a tight end 1. Hell, I don't see a QB 1. Definitely high on Stafford. Kirk Cousins, I mean, he was looking good to start. He's definitely slowed down in that offense. Even Thielen has, which has resulted in some other teams not doing as well. But when it comes to Stafford, whatever happened in Detroit with that Tate trade, it looks like it kind of threw him a left curve, and doesn't have much of a connection with Marvin Jones since Tate is gone. And from my case, Galladay, I mean, shows up when he shows up. Seems like he just wants to catch it when he does. And Stafford really just has a hard time getting the rock out there. Looks like that offense might be running the ball a little bit more, but I think that's something we'll probably get into a little bit later. You definitely have a great linebacker. Jordan Hicks is just a baller. But I do believe that it's easy to find linebackers in this league. Definitely some that are hit or miss, but a lot of linebackers perform at a high volume week in and week out. I think DBs is a little bit harder to find. Buda Baker is one of the best out there, so you did a great job there. And defensive linemen, probably the make or break of a lot of rosters this year. Defensive linemen are hard to come by, and you found a guy that is ranked pretty high and does pretty well on a week-in, week-out basis. Gets a couple sacks, changes his point total tremendously, but other than that, I mean, your roster is extremely pedestrian. Extremely pedestrian. Extremely. Our trade in line, you would have got Breida, which looks like you would have won that deal. I was even willing to throw Aguilar in there, who just got double digits. Had a really good game actually this past week when I dropped him. So don't necessarily know what happened with that. I assume you had other options available, but you hit me with the pump fake. You know what I'm saying? I went for the shot block. Shit, I was ready for the rebound. I was boxing out. You know what I'm saying? I was on your team trying to do right. I was going to kick it back out to you, let you take that shot again. Nah. Turnover. Didn't work out. So, Team 11, I kind of had to argue with myself between two teams. Wasn't exactly sure who I wanted to go with, but I ended up deciding to go with Jarrett. Kawan Hyde. Probably want to hide with the kind of season you've had with all these injuries. I mean, personally speaking, my first year, I had a lot of issues with injuries. In fact, I think my top 3 guys got injured. So I can understand how that changes your season. And to be honest, it kind of just takes all the fun out of it. You can always try and make roster changes, but they're never guarantees. And at the same time, you don't know what you're giving up. I mean, Dalvin Cook, for instance, coming back, great keeper value, and hopefully he balls out and does what you expected him to do for you all season. Never know if that's really going to happen, but that's why we call this fantasy football, right? That's why they give us projections, thinking what they're going to do, and we have our own preferences. But I really like the roster that you have. Obviously, injuries have set you back a lot, but as of this week, I mean, you have Dalvin Cook starting. You picked up Derrick Henry for a very high value. Kind of asked myself, why not pay a smaller price for him? At least try to have some keeper value there. But, I mean, I guess you're desperate to win. I don't know why. I guess doesn't do any good tanking. So maybe pride set aside and you just... Anyways, even to pay that much on Derrick Henry is a question mark, But coming from a guy that spent, I think, 43 or 47 on Dorsett, I won't say nothing more. I understand desperate times call for desperate measures. All right, Mike Evans. I don't know what to tell you about Mike, man. Started out looking like a top 5 receiver. Past few weeks, pedestrian numbers. I mean, this guy is basically just playing a role. Better off running D-Jax at that position or Chris Godwin. Well, unfortunately, I think Chris got hurt, but I mean, he's just not really doing anything for you. Sterling Shepard, I couldn't even tell you how good this guy even is because Eli doesn't give him a chance. When it comes to the Giants in particular, if it ain't OBJ or Saquon, we don't need no parts. I mean, proven fact. There's no other guy on that roster that you really want to rely on. Keyword rely. And sometimes, I mean, even OBJ and Saquon, you get worried just because of that offense, the offensive line and the quarterback. Those 2 players are tremendous players, but for me personally, I prefer to get players on highly ranked offenses or with potential to perform. And I can't say Sterling Shepard falls in that category. Greg Olsen does, however. T.Y. Hilton does. But then we fall back on that injury bug that you've had all year. There's nothing you can do about that, man. I mean, easier said than done, but you kind of just swallow your pride and look forward to next season, see what you can find at keeper value. I personally love Corey Littleton, excuse me. Jesse Bates was on my watch list, still is. I don't know why. I need to go ahead and remove him from there, but Darius Geis. If this guy does what I think he can, and if he performs as a running back that I guess experts expect him to do, I mean, you're on a great start for next year. I don't know. I guess maybe Michael, Geis, and Cook would be your keepers, and I would not be upset with those options. Just being honest. The rest of your roster, I mean, you can kind of pick and choose who you want to go with. I really don't think you have many options. I mean, I love DJ Moore. I love Traquan Smith. But, I mean, these guys may not be valuable fantasy starters. But as far as the starting roster, I mean, you would expect yourself to have a little more competition week in and week out. But unfortunately, again, injuries have kind of hit you, and some players, when you need them to perform at that peak, they just fall a little short. Can't do much about it, man. You just keep fighting, and I respect that. And I wish you luck going forward. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the number 10 spot. And that individual is going to be DJ Lano. Welcome to the industry, dog. And I say welcome as if I'm in it, but you know what I'm saying? Keep doing your thing over there. When it comes to your squad, however, you should probably stop doing your thing. I mean, with all due respect. But the trade you pulled, I mean, I don't know exactly what you were going for with it. I'm actually going to pull it up right now and kind of just remind myself of what exactly you did. And unfortunately, I can't do that, so that kind of sucks. Oh, there it is. Kenyon Drake, Geronimo Allison. First of all, the name Drake should have told you something, playa. Don't ever, excuse my French, don't ever fuck with a dude named Drake. Sorry, Pop, Don, gentlemen, Breezy. No, for that language. But y'all know where I stand with that. Secondly, Geronimo, the third, no, maybe the fifth guy in line on that Packers offense. I think. I mean, obviously he's out for the season now. But and of course Patrick Mahomes. I get that. I mean, I get that. But from a competitive level, it's easy to replace that quarterback. I mean, obviously the QB is number one in the league by far, and I understand how important that can be. But you can find any quarterback to get you 20, 25 points, man. Like, you can't find running backs and receivers and tight ends that can get you 20, 25 points easily. So, you put all your eggs in one basket, as I like to say. And especially on Mahomes, who really doesn't even have keeper value. I don't get the trade at all because of the players you gave up for it. I mean, excuse me, gentlemen. I tried to wrap my head around it. I couldn't. And I still can't. I mean, I would love to hear like a valid explanation as to what exactly you were going for with that trade. Because the players you gave up, Kareem Hunt, on a good week, can put up Patrick Mahomes' numbers. Any player at the running back, wide receiver, or tight end position that can put up better numbers than a quarterback on any given week, I don't know how you can let that go. At least get something in return. I guess you were high on Kenyon Drake. I'm not going to go back on that Drake subject, but as a player, I've never seen him play. I mean, I've seen him play, but I haven't watched a full game. I don't watch his highlights. What I do know about Kenyon Drake, though, is that he's on the Miami Dolphins offense. To be quite honest, that's all I need to know. So I don't fully understand that trade again, and that's really where I wanted to go with this roster. I mean, other than that, you don't have anybody to rely on. This week in particular, week 11, you had Benjamin Watson starting at tight end. It was a Saturday night, by the way. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I did this recording earlier, but I decided that I took a vacation to the beach, so I wanted to just kind of keep it all in one, not have different settings and stuff like that. And the sun is going down, just in case you guys wanted to know. And actually, at the moment, I even have work texting me, so I may have to put a minute pause on this and get to that. But let's wait and see if I get another notification. Anyways, back to your roster, DJ, Laney. You got a good kicker. That's nice, right? I mean, it's hard to find a good kicker, I guess. Yeah. I don't know who you're going to keep. I don't know what you're doing going forward. I hope Golden Tate comes around for you. Deshaun Jackson, that connection with Fitzmagic may just be fairy dust right now, drifting off into the wind. I don't know. I can't call it. But I do think something needs to give with this roster going forward. I don't know, maybe you're just going to clean house next year, put all your chips in the basket, but with other people having great value at keepers, that'll put you in the back seat. Because what I learned from last year is that everyone else is going to have a game plan, and they may be able to execute theirs better than yours. And if you don't have any valuable keepers, you're not going to be able to execute a good game plan. Not against the competition you got going on out here with great value keepers, man. People keeping players at $2 and $4 that can get them 30 points a week, and you're going to have to go and spend $50 to get that one player. Why are you going to spend $50? Because someone's going to have a roster full of 3 spots that they may have spent $18 on. And all they need is that one extra player, hence David from last year, Le'Veon Bell situation. Where in his mind, I get that one running back that can solidify my roster, and then I can plug and play from there, and he's set. Dave, which we'll get into later, got gypped by the Bell situation, and thus, that's where this trade came from and other moves, but you're putting yourself in a precarious situation. And I wish you luck going forward, you know what I'm saying? Looks like next year might have to be your year. But I guess that's kind of what you can say about all the rosters at the bottom at this point, because there are a few weeks left and not many playoff spots really fighting for, so worth fighting for. So that was my take on that. Sorry that was a little long, but I know nobody's really heard from me in band, and of course I would like to make my position known. Side note, I hope I'm doing well with you guys. This is all gotten a little more comfortable, but give me just 1 minute. Let me see what this work situation is. You can go ahead and skip forward. You know what I'm saying? Don't awkwardly watch me. And I'm not going to pause and stop because I don't know how to edit. I don't have time to give it to David. I'm just going to upload it the way it is. So give me 30 seconds to a minute real quick, fellas, please. Yo, running a restaurant. Whew. Let's just say I'm glad to have a weekend off. I'm at the beach and trying to keep that positive note. All right. Next up at the 9 position in the Week 11 power rankings is going to be Breezy, who I have a lot of respect for as a fantasy owner, fantasy manager, I guess you could say. Definitely has not had the best year, but when it comes to waiver wire pickups, rostering players, and really just having a knack for who can perform well, he's really, really good at it. I don't know how much time he has invested into this fantasy life. I mean, he could spend all day doing it. He could just spend 5 minutes a day doing it. I have no idea. But he probably should sign up for NFL fantasy football and see if he could maybe be a special guest from week to week, day to day, year to year, and just give his intake on what he can do. I think you've done a pretty good job of managing your roster. I do like the trade that you had with Boyer a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, the Eagles also had a trade of their own soon after that. But I do think, Alshon Jeffrey probably filled your need. That you were kind of lacking receiver with Larry Fitzgerald, not really performing at the level you thought that he could perform at. As Boyer at least knows, because I've definitely told him how I feel about Alshon Jeffrey. I am no believer. Maybe he's nice. I mean, I think he's a product of the Eagles' offense right now. He reminded me a lot of Kevin White, if that says anything. Obviously, he had the injury bug early on in Chicago. He made great plays, man, but you know what I'm saying? He was no A.J. Green. I mean, I'm not saying A.J.'s up there. A.J.'s no scrub either. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the category I feel like people were putting him in at the time when he came out of the draft and whatnot. Maybe I'm tripping, but just never been high on Alshon. You have, I mean, regardless of fantasy, you have one of the two best quarterbacks in the game right now, who, quite honestly, I am blessed to have in the NFC South. I'm blessed to have him in the South in general, just because of how much he is on TV and the fact that I get to watch him twice a year. Drew Brees is just phenomenal. He does it week in and week out, man. I mean, I don't know what I'm more fascinated by, his arm or his mind. Because it's easy. I mean, it's not easy. But quarterbacks are paid for accuracy. Put it like that. Power. But the mind, that's extra. Coming from a Carolina Panther fan, Cam Newton probably doesn't watch as much game footage as one would want your quarterback to watch. Drew Brees, he's an assassin. And I love watching this guy play. Anthony Miller, I think, was a good pickup. I think that Bears offense is starting to kind of look like a Rams offense from last year. Not that they're that explosive because they don't have that firepower, but that switch that they had from one year to another, the way they throw the ball, Trubisky looks like at least a fantasy starting quarterback. I see you got Philip Lindsay, who was your waiver wire pickup this year. Great pickup there. David Johnson, unfortunately, has not done for you what you thought he would do for you all season, but it looks like he's starting to come around, specifically doing well the past few weeks. Huge fan of Blake Martinez. I don't like saying that because of how many Packer fans I have in this band. Shit, it's not even the Packer fans. It's Dave. Straight up. Sorry, Mish. But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You gotta talk it when you can. And I don't want to give him no credit. He already takes it as it is. I know. I don't want to feed into that ego when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. But Blake Martinez is a baller. Hopefully he can stay healthy going forward. Christian Kirk, I think, is the replacement for Larry Fitzgerald going forward. I would not have been mad if the Panthers picked him up first round, but I'm definitely happy with DJ Moore, just for the record. Ryan Fitzpatrick will probably be dropped by you eventually. I mean, Jalen Smith, I'm upset that I dropped him. I am. I personally don't believe in rostering two DBs, two defensive linemen, two linebackers. But if you look at my roster right now, I have just that, except for the linebacker. I'm having trouble dropping one. That's my personal belief. But I just feel like there's other players, wide receivers, flex options, tight ends that you can pick up that can give you valuable points week in and week out, or at least take a risk with one of those players, finding a keeper. So I don't like spending a lot of my roster space on miscellaneous. I can only play one. I'd rather just find a good one that I can play every week. Hopefully that makes sense to y'all. And the same goes for a quarterback, man. I mean, roster space is important to me, and I don't want to waste it on players that I'm really not going to have any space for. Adam Humphries, I would like to have him on my roster. Sometimes it's just hard to drop players. Kyle Rudolph, in my opinion, has been a disappointment. I really thought that Kirk Cousins had a great connection with his tight ends, and he kind of proved that in Washington. But in Minnesota, it's all about Thielen and Diggs, and that's all you can really say. Tight end position hurt like everybody, but you got some studs on the defensive side. J.J. Watt in particular. So a lot of your roster is second tier to third tier players, which is probably why you find yourself at 3-7. But I know you have the opportunity to get a monster roster next year. Obviously, depending on other keepers, but some of those players that you can keep, like the value that you can have them for, is phenomenal. So I firmly expect you to do something special going into next season. Look forward to seeing what you can do. Next up, at the 8th spot, some people might find surprising. It's actually my competitor this week. My competition. The Urban Liar. He's done a great job of beating some tough teams. So maybe my reasoning to having him at 8 is all messed up. But again, it's my power rankings. I have different beliefs, of course, and my player values are much different than others. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into why I think the Urban Liar is at the 8th position. To start with, I don't believe in Kerryon Johnson. Obviously, his numbers are proving me wrong in the past few weeks. He's turning into a RB2 player. But I don't know if it's more about Kerryon or if it's more about the Lions. We all know what the Lions do. They throw the rock. It's one reason why I'm sure Dave was able or willing to let go of him. I mean, as you see, 3 weeks ago, he had 8 carries. The week after that, 12. Last week he had 14, but you know what? When you can put up a touchdown reception and a touchdown rush and get 12 points easy off that, that'll inflate your numbers. And if he's using that offense that way, if he is a pass-catching back that can play 3 downs, 4th down, if he's going to stay in the game 50 snaps of the 60, hypothetically speaking, 70 of the 80 snaps, then he's definitely worth keeping. I just don't see him being that guy, and I hope I'm wrong for your sake, because I know you're expecting a lot from him. Maybe not so much this year, but next year in particular. Um, Now, as far as Aaron Jones, he looks like he's coming around. I mean, I can't say he's worth Zeke. I know On's not worth Zeke. I know Jalen Richard ain't worth shit. He ain't worth a dirty diaper. So, um, to give up Matt Ryan and Zeke, I guess Matt Ryan was easy because of Aaron Rodgers, but again, to give up Zeke, a pedestrian player, but somebody that can put up 20 plus quarterback numbers on any given week and probably multiple weeks in a row, that was tough. Um, Now the only thing is you nor Laney knew. I assume neither one of you knew that Dave had another trade in the works that would really fulfill his maximum roster. But in my opinion, whether my record is the best in the league or the worst, took a little bit of competition out of it, and we'll get into that when we move on up, because that roster that we'll get into later is loaded, and you contributed to that. So at the end of the day, though, I can see why you did it a few weeks later. At the time, I did not. And of course, they were putting up more or less pedestrian numbers at that time, so it didn't really make sense to me at all. But with Aaron Jones now I'm sorry, with Aaron Jones now looking like a bona fide baller, I get it. I can see why you took that leap. What I don't understand, in all honesty, is why you have a lot of Packer players. But if there's an offense that you're going to go high on, I guess that should be one of them. Maybe if Aaron Rodgers wasn't injured or still dealing with that pain, maybe they'd be even a little bit better. But this week in particular, the game was on Thursday. Excuse me, guys. Mason Crosby really let you down. And I think the Packers let you down late in the game. At least the few times I checked the score throughout the night, you were doing your thing. You were moving the ball very well. The Packers were moving the ball, and you were getting points left and right, man. There was two possessions, I think, back-to-back that I saw maybe in the third quarter where Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones were getting the ball left and right. Literally, left and right. The one pass that went to Valdin Scantes, whatever his name is, incomplete, irrelevant. The next few, Devontae Adams, then Aaron Jones. So you did a great job in getting those players that I believe are on high-valued offenses. However, those are the main ones that I see on your roster. Demaryius Thomas, in particular, I have never had any faith in. If this wasn't such a competitive level or a competitive league, I was sitting beside Boyer when he drafted him. I would have stopped him. Just for his sake, for my sake, for the league's sake. He was not worth the 20 plus that he was drafted for. And I'm sure that's something that maybe both y'all are regretting, having him on your roster at one point in time throughout this season. Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron. He's doing what everyone thought he would do the past 17 seasons he's been playing football. But he's finally been able to get some luck. Oh, I'm so funny. Man. Khalil Mack, bona fide stud. I was never able to see him play in Oakland. Damn, I'm happy I get to see him play now, man. This guy, Khalil Mack, is a baller. No, I'm sorry, my mistake. The best defensive player I have ever seen play, personally speaking. I have not seen a defensive lineman control the offensive line, and the offense in general, the way that he does. I saw J. Pep early in his career, and not that J. Pep and Khalil Mack are on the same level, but J. Pep was an animal early in Carolina. I mean, this guy was doing things that I had never seen defensive players do. And I watched him growing up playing at UNC. You know, I was a UNC fan back in the day. Go Pack now, but different topic. Khalil Mack, man, I don't know what Oakland's doing, but they're idiots, okay? Idiots. You got Kiko Alonso, another great bona fide defensive player. So I think you did a really good job of getting some some defensive stars on your roster. But the rest of your roster, man, I mean, hit or miss. Jordan Reed could do you good any other week. Chris Godwin could. Corey Davis. Corey Davis seems like he's finally starting to come into his own. The Tennessee Titans offense looks like they're starting to finally roll around, and I hope they are. I really do. But, I mean, look at Oakland 2 years ago. They looked like their offense was about to be the next thing, and they hit a wall. Look at the Bengals. You never know what kind of shit their offense is gonna bring. So I really just can't help but feel that the Titans are gonna fall within that realm. You got Alfred Blue on your roster. I don't know why. Dante Moncrief, Jalen Ramsey. Still got Marshawn down there, maybe for keeper value, but Richard, Jalen Richard. I mean, a lot of players, man, you can't rely on. So I got you at 8. I think you've done a really good job at staying competitive. And what I think is really crazy is that you had a legitimate chance at making the playoffs before you made that trade. And now I think you have no chance at all. The commish, in my opinion, if I remember correctly, he has Laney this week, is it? Let me see. Yeah, which I think is an easy dub. Sorry, Laney. Nothing towards you, homie. I promise. Then you got Capital Offense going against Breezy, which I also think is an easy dub. Nothing against you, Breezy. And me, well, you can beat me all you want to, but you still have to face probably the arguably the best roster in the league 2 weeks in a row. So if you lose this week, I mean, that's your season in my opinion. And I feel like it could have been differently if you didn't make that trade. But hey, we are where we are now. You made a business decision, and I would love to see how it works out for you next year because if I'm not mistaken, next year's our last year before we wipe everything out. So everyone's probably going to be trying to get that shit before we hit that reset button, you know? Alright, so now I'm going to move on to my 7th ranked team. This is going to be the last team that I rank for the night. I may come back a little later and do something, but as you can see, it's been getting darker, a little darker in here. The sun's finally setting, as set, I guess you could say. Shorty knocked out, so you know what I'm saying. Probably just call it a night. But next up at the 7th position, I have the Crystal Method Man. I know that's not his name, but it sounds kind of cool. You know what I'm saying? Method Man. I mean, he's been in my playlist for the past couple of weeks now, so shout out to the Woo. Anyways, I think Boyer in particular, he's John Gruden. He's shipped pretty much everybody out. And though the Raiders haven't shipped everybody out, you can tell they went into rebuild mode, if you want to call it that. So I think Boyer has exceeded the number of trades that one could exceed in a year, as well as total transactions. I'm pretty sure he has to pay a fee at the end of the season. I have not heard official word on that yet, but from my understanding, there is a fee to pay. Boyer, good luck with that player. I don't know if it's $5 a trade or what, but I know you got a lot of fees to play, man. Now, all jokes aside, when I look at your roster, man, it's a scary lineup. I mean, it really is. But the past 2 weeks in particular, last week you had Don, who straight up dropped buckets with that Packers offense. Can't do nothing about that. And you faced me the week before that, and I'm not going to make you reminisce about what happened that week because I feel kind of bad. I'm not even going to lie. I didn't expect those kind of results. I know you didn't expect those results. And, I mean, we spoke a little bit about it. And in all honesty, man, I was ready for the L. I was looking forward to the L. I want to get this off my chest, dog. You know what I'm saying? And if anyone's going to take it from me, if anyone will relieve me of that stress, I wanted to be Boyer. I mean, you know, he got me into the league, which I am greatly appreciative for. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, I know he needed that dub. I know he had one of the toughest schedules going forward. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. But what you've done with your roster this year is phenomenal. And I highly commend you for putting together the type of roster that you've managed to put together with the pieces that you've had throughout the season. You didn't get no blockbuster trade with number one player involved in it. But first off, when you have Adam Thielen balling week in and week out, except for the 1 week that you probably needed him the most. But when you got Thielen balling week in and week out, man, like, you got people like me shutting up. Because last year in particular, I had no belief in him. And not that I didn't think you should have kept him this year, but Thielen, in my mind, okay, you know, it's a flex play, wide receiver 2, you play him every week, I get you. And Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, likes his route runners. You know, he likes guys he knows where they're going to be at a specific time. And Thielen's a great route runner. I didn't think Thielen was going to be the number one wide receiver in the NFL. I'm happy for you that he is. I hope he continues to do what he's doing and have that kind of success. You got I was really about to say Julio Jones. You got Julio Jones, who I think is another phenomenal receiver, finally getting in the box. Congratulations. Not only to you, but to Julio, because I'm sure he got that weight lifted off his shoulders. Robert Woods, I love that trade that you made when you went and got him, man. Just want to look at it one more time. Woods and Chubb, I mean, again, I think you helped out Breezy by having the handcuff in Booker and also the receiver in Jeffrey. But for you to pick up legitimate young talent on a young roster that Cleveland, that is, that I think has great potential going forward, that's the kind of player that you want when you start building a dynasty. Now, fortunately, you're, I think, 1-2 years too soon for that. But you know what you're doing. So it'd be interesting to see how your mindset does change when the term dynasty is involved. Robert Woods, again, I love players that are on high-powered offenses. Robert Woods is on I guess them are the Chiefs, but I say the Rams, the most powerful offense in the NFL. You don't know what the hell the Rams are going to do, man, and they can do it all. Clearly, where you've been hurt at is your running back position, and I guess maybe that's why you've made so many trades this year. Never really been able to get that true running back one that I know you're desiring. AP looked like that, and I kind of just saw people making comments they didn't want a part of AP because he's old and he's bound to be injured and this and that, and not that they're right about that, but now I see why they were afraid to touch AP. I'm sure you do too. And at the time that you got him, you may have been extremely pleased, but I think soon after you did and you kind of saw what kind of numbers he could put up, it changed. I had a conversation with you last week about how I valued his numbers. Um, and with that being said, like, I think he's a great flex play. He's a great running back too. Now he's a good running back too to try and go with. But to have Coleman lined up with Peterson is tough. I know, because neither one of them you can rely on. I love Geethers. I'm glad that you picked him back up. I hope that he can stay healthy and do his thing, because he was looking really promising early in the season when I had him. Going on to your bench, Chris Thompson. I wish they would just do something with his ass. I mean, sit him the rest of the season, or let Bibbs just take that spot. Let Chris come back healthy next season and do that 1-2 combo with him and Bibbs, or maybe re-sign AP and just let AP get 15 carries a game with Chris Thompson. Just take off that load. I don't know, but they need to do something there. I'm no believer in Theo Reddick. I think Maurice Harris, he might have a little connection with Alex Smith. Alex Smith does tend to find a receiver and a tight end. So if Maurice Harris is that receiver, then I think you gotta steal there. Cooper Kupp, I don't know how that works. Do you get him? Let's see how much you pay for him to pick him up. You paid $1 for him, and Breezy drafted him for 11. I assume you keep him for the price that he was drafted. So maybe you're looking for that Golf and Cup connection. I'm not sure, but I mean, okay, try it. I don't know. I mean, you did right with Thielen. Maybe Cup ends up being that wide receiver 2 in LA, and you can run something with that. But George Kittle, monster, bona fide star. Congratulations on getting him for a steal. I mean, I don't even think you wore gloves, bruh. You just got away with that one. Like, they're not even looking for your fingerprints. So congratulations, dog. Congratulations. Carlos Hyde, I know, is giving you a headache. I'm sure you're going to drive him soon. I know you should wait. I think you should wait. But, I mean, end of the day, when you got Nick Chubb, Bibbs is probably going to put up at least decent numbers. Like, give you about 8, hopefully. Peterson and Coleman, you're not even going to run him. So, Jared Cook, I can't tell you much about Jared Cook, to be honest, player. I picked him up in another league. He might be the only Raider worth starting, but he's a Raider. John Gruden. See the connection? I got you, player. I'm on to you. Everybody else might not be, but they are now. And good luck going forward, man, because you are, in my opinion, probably the first out. And I'm going to reevaluate my playoff prediction, but I think you might be the first out. Only because the past 2 weeks you may have had the most points dropped on you out of those 2 weeks amongst all the teams. I hate that for you, but you're in a good position to still make the playoffs. You just have to have other people have shit happen to them. And I don't know if that will happen. But anyway, so that wraps up my my bottom 6, I guess we would call them. And I will come back to you all with my top 6. It'll either be a little bit later tonight or sometime tomorrow. I hope everybody's okay with the quality of the video. I did what I can. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm the most technological individual. I have the most knowledge when it comes to this stuff. I downloaded one of the apps on the iMac, and I just started recording. So hopefully y'all are cool with what I got going on, man. I hope the lighting is okay. I hope the sound is okay. Um, I hope I'm able to send this and all the quality just be the same as what I can see right now. But hey, it's 6 o'clock. I might be able to knock something else out. But y'all gentlemen, y'all be easy. I hope y'all enjoy what y'all hear. And leave some feedback. You know what I'm saying? Don't hurt me. I'm not trying to sit here and be mean to y'all. So don't come at me with some killer shit. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to do my thing. Anyways, peace out, fellas.